Welcome to AllFreeCrochet.com's learning channel. Come to our website for thousands of free patterns and inspiring ideas. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our website to continue to receive free patterns and crafting deals. Your video host Mikey is now standing by to give you another free tutorial. Welcome everybody. In today's tutorial we're going to be working on these bumbleberry pie squares, and this is using Bernat Mosaic yarn. And what we have here is the yarn that I'm actually using, and I love this yarn because of the very slow nature of it changing color. So you'd think I might have used brown in the center, but in actual fact this is the continuous color changes as this yarn goes through. So this is not like typical yarn where the color changes maybe about 4 to 6 inches. The color change here is within feet. So in actual fact you can see that it's starting going out, and then it comes out to red, and then it starts transitioning out to orange, and then even here it's just dark purple and black, and then it's black, and then it starts putting in the red, so the red gets more vibrant as it goes around, and then over here. So on the actual shelf of Bernat or any kind of stores that you're looking at, you would say to yourself, this is not the same yarn, and in actual fact it is. And you can actually see it by two different options, is that it has a color swatch that's on the front of it, but also what I want you to pay attention to is that the color swatch doesn't tell you what the color is, the actual SKU does. So what you have here is 44701 is the actual model number, and it's called Medusa. So on the outside of the balls, they are looking very different because of the color transition is so slow, is that this color is actually inside this ball, just deeper into it. So in actual fact you can start seeing these colors here when you pull back some of the layers. So let's get started on this bumbleberry pie afghan, and this is by Bernat Mosaic yarn. So let's create a slip knot while I talk to you for a few seconds. And what we have here is that we have a size H hook, or 5.0 millimeter. We are using the Medusa yarn by Bernat Mosaic, and the color is going to transition in throughout this video, and every square off camera takes about 9 minutes to complete, and the afghan I'm working on is 127 squares. And my afghan, I'm not actually fastening it this way, I'm actually fastening it in the other way so that they're diamond shape, so the edge of my afghan is actually going to be up and down, up and down. So let's begin, and we're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what I want you to do, stick your hook into the very starting chain, pulling it down like a U, okay? And I want you to grab the yarn, okay? So grabbing it and pulling it through and through, and using your middle finger and your thumb to hold it in a position, you can see now the actual center of your square. So the straggler actually locked into position as well. It doesn't have to do that, but you can. So let's now chain up 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and we want to go around inside this circle another 15 more times. This actually counts as 1. So it's, we're going to double crochet ourselves into the center, okay? And I don't really start counting right away. You can if you want to, and then we can just recount. And again, you're going to start seeing a transition in colors as we go out through this particular afghan. So in actual fact, I know from experience you can start seeing that it's getting a little more black and orange than when we started already, and you're going to see it transitioning before your eyes. So let's continue to work on that, double crocheting ourselves all the way around. Okay, we want a total of 16 altogether, which included the very first one of the chaining of 3. So in actual fact you're doing 15 double crochets. You may notice that the center of the circle may get stuffed, and we are okay with that because we can move things around if we have to. So let's begin to count. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we got 14, 15, and 16. So now we're going to begin to slip knot up into the first. Okay, so we have the chaining of 4, or sorry, just want to slip stitch to the top of the chain here. This was the chaining of 3, sticking your hook in, pulling through and through, and there is the very center of your new granny square afghan pattern. Here we go. So let's move on to the next level of this square. The next thing we're going to do now is we're going to chain up 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in actual fact, double crochet is normally 3, but we're doing 4 because I want you to picture an upside down L. So 1, 2, 3, and then the 4 is actually going to go over top like this. So how we do it is that we look for this stitch here, not this one, but that one, and we want to wrap and we want to come in for a double crochet into that, and we want to chain 1. So 1. So go into the next stitch available on the circle, double crochet, and chain 1. Next one on the circle. So how many should we actually have? Well, if you went around and you did 16 on the lower level, by the time you get around here, there should be 16. It is critical that there is 16 going around each one of these this next circle, because in the next line above in this one, we actually divide everything into 2. So if you have 15 or you have 17, what happens is you end up with an odd number out, and your square is going to look out of balance and out of sync with the rest of them. So I'm not counting. You can see that color transitioning quite amazingly, in my opinion. So why did I call it the Bumbleberry Pie Afghan square? And the reason for it is that when you look at an actual bumbleberry pie, you can actually see the browns of the crust. You can see the nice peaches and the reds of the interior of the pie, and you can really start seeing really deep colors, because chances are if I baked it, it would probably be black crust. So I'm getting this far, so I'm going to count. So easier to count this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Chaining a 1 again. We want 16, so just coming into the last one. So we want to do that, and we also have to chain 1 after we do the 16, and we want to slit stitch it to the starting. Okay, so that is the end of now doing the actual circle of the inside, and now we're going to start bringing this thing square in the next level. Well, carrying on right along, we're going to now chain up 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So right where I'm pinching, okay, the actual gap before you did that is the actual starting corner. So it's actually going to be one of the corners. Okay, the way I do squares is that I do one half of the corner first, go all the way around, and then I finish it off. So I want to put in 2 more double crochets into that same gap that I pulled apart. Okay, so the chaining 1 is kind of bending up underneath of it, but that's cool. That's very good. So now we want to chain 1. Okay, we want to look at everything in sets of 2. So the next 2 spokes is you want to keep together. So you want to jump over into the second spoke area. So not in between, but second. And we want to double crochet 3 more times. Okay, so we double crocheted 3 more times. We want to chain 1, and now we're going to begin doing the next corner. Okay, so visualize this thing as a corner here. So we want to keep the spokes together, so 2, and going after the second one. Do you see that? So we want to double crochet 3 times. So when we're doing granny squares, we double crochet in the corner 3 times. We chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we come back in. So I purposely kind of turned it sideways. You can do that for yourself as well if it makes it easier for you to understand what you're looking at. Okay, so we had 3 double crochets, chaining of 2, 3 double crochets into the same spoke area, and we want to now chain 1 and jumping over. So we want to keep the 2 spokes together, jumping it to the next gap, and we want to change, or sorry, double crochet 3 more times. We want to chain 1, and now we're ready to do the next corner. So again, keeping the 2 spokes together, coming in just like that. So we want to do your corner again. So 3 double crochets, 2 chain, 3 double crochets. So in actual fact, in this round, we are converting the circles now into a square. We've seen this pattern before in other Afghans as well. So we got the square, or got the corner done, so we chain 1, keep the next 2 spokes together, and going in. We want to double crochet 3 more times. I had a woman arguing with me at a festival lately, and she argued that I should never just chain one in between. Okay, so we're going into the next corner, everybody. So it's 3 double crochets, 2 chain, 3 double crochet. So she suggested that me putting only one in between each one of the actual stitches actually doesn't make any sense, that it would make it too tight. In actual fact, I find that when you put 2 chains in between any of the layers, I find, and it's not a corner, I find that it makes the afghan pretty sloppy and loose. But that's just my own opinion. So we want to chain 1, okay, keeping the next 2 spokes together. So everything has 2 spokes around it. So if you ended up with an odd number going all the way around, then you'll end up with an extra spoke or not enough. So we're coming last to the final corner. We've already done 3 on the starting, so this one we're just finishing off, just doing 3 double crochets and 2 chaining, and then we're going to slip stitch and then move up to our next level. So we're nearly almost done this particular square. So 2 chain, and we're just going to come into the top of the other where we started and pull through and through, and this rotation is now finished. Okay, so we're now moving up to the next level, so let's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this is just like a regular granny square at this point. So coming into the gap, the corner gap, coming in 2 more times for a double crochet. We want to now chain 1. I call this the runway. Every spot between the corners is the runway. So every time we chain 1, we put in 3 double crochets, and then we chain 1 again. And we do that all the way until we hit a corner again. So chain 1. Okay, the next one on the runway, it's not a corner yet. Okay, and we're now hitting the corner, so we chain 1 and we get into the corner piece, so go right into the corner. We're going to 3 double crochets, 2 chain, 3 double crochets. Okay, we're now on the runway area, so we're going to chain 1 and just look for the gaps. I love that for granny squares. You don't have to be that particular with it. So the secret for me is that with doing this kind of yarn, you'll end up with many variations of squares, because the coloring is changing so slowly and so amazingly, in my opinion, that you can end up with many different variations. But you can double the amount of variations if you grab the yarn from different areas. So you could grab it from the middle of the ball, like I normally do, and just work, continue to pull out, or you can just start on the outside of the ball and work your way in. And by changing your direction like that, it changes what order things go in. So for example, what we have here, the yellow is kind of there, and then we're kind of hitting some of the reds, so we're just changing the transition order, which then will double the amount of actual squares available to you. So to actually make your whole one ball of yarn actually look almost up to 30 different styles on your one afghan. So we are still in the runway. I think I might have done a corner while I was chit-chatting with you as well. Kind of instinct to do it. And chaining 1, the next corner. Off camera, I have my ball of yarn. I've been working from the outside in, and I have it in a bowl, and it's just easier from the yarn hitting the floor all the time in it. Because the bowl is stainless steel, it just rotates around in the bowl itself instead of getting tangled. So that was a corner. Back on the runway, we are on the last part of the runway before we calling this square quits, and we start on with our next one. So we've gone from beautiful yellows to nice orangey pumpkins to some reds, and now we're getting darker into the red and brown, and then eventually it'll turn black as well. But this is the nice thing, I find these squares are big enough that you see enough of a color change, because if the squares are too big, I think that too many of the squares will actually start looking very similar. So we're now on the final. You can tell we've already started this one. We're here. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to slip stitch, pull through and through. So this is where I stopped on the Bumbleberry Afghan, but you can go bigger if you feel like you want to. And what I just do to finish off is that I just trim over my hand with my Westcott scissors, and I'm just going to pull out. Okay, so I'm just pulling up and letting it fall out. What I just do is I kind of pinch it with my fingers, but I go in and I pull through, so I still have it in behind, and I put the straggler, the loose end, through that loop and I pull it. So it's kind of tightening on top of each other. I then take this and I pull it through and over, and I go to the middle one, middle stitch, pull it through toward me and throw it back over, come into the next gap, pull it through, go into the next middle piece, here the stitch, pull through, okay, the next gap, I'm going to pull through, and then the middle. So there's enough straggler here that when I go to fasten these all together, that when I fasten them along this edge, all of the straggler will be caught in a position, and I can safely trim this and put it aside for when I'm ready to actually make the Afghan. On behalf of All Free Crochet, I'm your host Mikey, celebrating this wonderful accomplishment with the Bumbleberry Pie Afghan using Bernat Mosaic yarn. Until next time, have a great day.